Why is every market everywhere ignoring the political risks? And we spend all day talking about political risks, and yet everything from stocks in Europe, to yields in Europe, nothing is showing any stress as far as I can see.
Maybe it's because we lived through Trump and Brexit and we saw the reaction there, and maybe it's because a lot of these political risks don't necessarily lead to a cataclysmic outcome, like an exit from the Eurozone. I think that's true of the Dutch election, where we see the populist candidate likely to win. But again, the ability of that candidate to then exercise power in Parliament is quite limited. Likewise, in France, I think everyone recognizes the risk may be growing, but it's still, I think, quite small that Le Pen, for example, gains a victory. And then I think also you have to understand that even if she were to win, the French exit, or Frexit as it's called, is still quite a low probability. She has to have so much power in the Parliament to make that happen, as well as I think getting the Constitution changed. The public is not in favor of a referendum. There's a lot of work to do, even with an election of Le Pen. And so I think if you look at a compound probability, I think the odds of something terrible happening in the Eurozone are still actually quite low.
Well, so briefly then, Jim, I mean, if the market has got used to things like Trump tweets and, populist parties getting more of a say in governing, does that mean that we can just discount all of that political action and anything that happens politically in the future won't cause a turnaround?
I think absolutely not. I think what you have here is a market that perhaps looks at what the next event might bring. And it's a very short time horizon. I think the daily regimen of tweets and press conferences and central bank meetings, I think, shortens our time horizon significantly. But longer term, the populist turnaround, these forces that we see awakening are not going away. And each one of these events is just another rung in the ladder that ultimately, to me, leads to more reflationary policy. So again, I think each event by itself perhaps isn't as significant as the whole package together.
And Jim, the ECB remains a backstop, but there might be some tweaks, some temporary deviations we learned yesterday from the capital key. The periphery bond markets like that, at least for a day. Big deal or not?
I don't think it is a big deal. They're floating trial balloons, I think. First of all, they've already done it to a small extent, so I don't think the news was as big as perhaps it was understood to be. I would say the tapering at year end is probably the thing to watch. If they cannot taper, if growth and inflation is not picked up sufficiently to allow that, what you'll have is a real shortage of bonds developing in some markets like Germany, and they will have to come up with a plan B. And I think they're probably just testing the markets to see whether language such as deviations from the capital keys will allow them to do that.